This is probably the most challenging record you have ever put on your turntable.
Yo! Oh, daggone. No. Stop acting up on me. There you go. Yo, welcome to yet another episode of ADQ's Renaissance. I'm your host with the most, keeping it 100 from coast to coast through God, our boast. ADQ. It is Sunday, April the 10th, 2021. Is it me or is this daggone year going by faster than a crack baby? I'm ADQ. Yo, there's my newest co-host on this 100th episode of ADQ's Renaissance, Mr. Allan Walls. Allan, what's up?
How you doing, ADQ? What's going on, man? Let's bring it today. Let's bring that heat today.
How you doing?
I'm all right, brother. Appreciate you welcoming me on. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. Thank you for coming on, man. Shoot.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
yes,
when I saw the way you dissected an episode of mine that you listened to, I was like, oh snap. This man's on his A's and B's. This man's on his I's and J's.
Yes, sir. Providing that support, let you know what's going on, and bringing my energy to this is my pleasure. Because the way you come at situations, the way you come at topics is broad, it's insightful, it's charismatic. So I'm like, let me just roll with this young brother. Let's see where this goes. Let's see what kind of energy he's bringing. And I was very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you very much, and thank you all who are watching right now from New York, from VA, from Atlanta, from here in North Carolina. Shout out to you all. Now, I was trying to figure out what bells and whistles to put together for my 100th episode.
100,
yes.
baby.
That one and that two, and those two goose eggs, and then DMX died, and I thought, you know what? Here's how I'm going to commemorate it. We got to talk about X. We got to dedicate this episode. We got to go into the next 100 episodes talking about brother Earl Simmons.
Yes, sir. He deserves every bit of our recognition. He deserves, and I'm humbled to have known him, to have known his music, to then understand his history and where he came from, the upbringing, and that ride to where he became prominent in the game. Because it's not easy to do that. but he's internationally iconic, based on his performances and based on his lyrics. And you wouldn't suspect really that kind of persona in that mode in terms of hip hop and where it was will become iconic internationally. So he used to be applauded, especially being a role model for a couple of other brothers coming behind him in the game. So the recognition is surely due. And we are down one soldier. We are down one soldier today. And it's a sad occasion, but it's also an occasion of lightness. It's also an occasion to be highlighted. His career needs to be highlighted. Yes, sir.
What I love about DMX is, and what I always thought about was, this man is clearly not a perfect person. He is clearly a flawed individual, like we all are. But he loved God. He was a praying man. He knew his Bible. He led people in prayers all the time. If he wanted to, he could have been a deacon. I mean, no. Not only that, but if he wanted to, he could have been a pastor. You remember how Mace has been going in and out. Pastor 1 second, rapper next, pastor rapper. He goes back and forth. I don't know whether he's somewhere spitting or somewhere reading the Bible.
Preaching.
Anyway, DMX could have transitioned into the ministry. He had that ability.
There's no question about it. When you're thinking about how people are able to connect, there's a genuineness about an individual that attracts the ears of those that listen. The thing about DMX, Brother Simmons, was that lyrically, even in his performance on screen, you could tell that his performance was genuine, that it was authentic, that this brother, whatever he's trying to portray, is genuine to himself. We are ones who will recognize fakeness. And it'll be a turn off, and it'll be criticized to no end. But with DMX, as you mentioned, a flawed individual, because we all are. Let's be honest. We all have flaws. We all have closets. We all have demons that we either address or don't, but they are within us. So when you identify with X, you know he's transparent. He's transparent. And lyrically, he's transparent about the demons that he had to live with. So I agree with you. I agree with you. And Mace was in and out. But DMX was always that. He was always that guy. There was no mistaking that.
He always had prayers at the end of his albums.
He sure did. And prayers at the end of his album was self-deprecating in the way that he kind of envisioned his demise based on where he came from. And again, we can all relate to that, brother. We can all and it needs to be spoken about. It needs to be a discourse regarding that.
So when's the first time you heard DMX? Because before you answer, I'm gonna tell you, here's how I first heard DMX. Okay, check me out. It's 1999. I'm in 9th grade, right? Mm-hmm. Shelby High School. I'm hearing people going, stop, drop, show now, open up shop. I'm like, what the heck are y'all talking about? You talking about stop, drop, roll or something? What are you people talking about? And some people be like, like, why are you growling at me? What the heck? I don't like dogs. They scare me. That's how I first heard of them. How did you first hear of them?
For me, it was around the time the Rough Riders movement. And I'll tell you a quick story. What's My Name came out.
Right.
What's My Name came out, and the rhyme scheme was a little different. Like I said, I'm a little older than you. I'm an old age hip hop guy, so I'm from that era, the South Bronx, Cool Herc. I'm from a little bit, I identify more with that era. So when What's My Name came out, the rhyme scheme was different from the KRS-One, and even the gangster rap that was coming around. It was a little different. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a student of this night, but then I got it, and I'll tell you what happened. Because the way when he said stop, drop, open up shop, fake up north brother screaming for the cops, I was like, yeah. Now I'm at this is my story, my own personal story.
Right.
Back in the day, I had hair. I had the fade. But I decided one day, you know what? I'm gonna go straight bald. I'm gonna go straight bald. And I go to the barber shop, and the cat said, "Yo, Walls, you want a bald now?" Yeah. And he cuts my hair, and he steps back. I'm looking like this now. He steps back, looks at me. He goes, "Oh," looks at his boy and says, "You know who he looks like? DMX."
Oh,
Yeah, he looked just like DMX. That's when I ran home and I hit the Rough Riders. That's my story about how I really became. I know it's kind of, it's kind of tangential to a certain degree, but I was like, yeah, I go home, look at me. I'm like, because I had the little and the razor blade, and I walked up, like,
strap.
yeah, right. And I'm slight like him, I'm slim like him, and about his height. I'm like, oh snap, DMX. And I hit What's My Name, the lyrical version. And I'm like, let me just follow this brother real quick. That's when I found out more about his story, where he came from, and the rough times that he had, the difficult era that he came from. So that's my introduction to DMX. And they put him in Crips grave. I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm
gonna tell you, I remember when I first saw the behind the music of DMX.
Yeah.
It on VH1, it was talking about how he was performing at a smaller club. And Ashley, what's up? It was showing how he was performing at a smaller club and how it was a far cry from all of the millions and thousands that he used to listen to. But if you're a true DMX fan, you've been riding with him since day one.
Mm-hmm. Since the days already launched.
What I hate about the media, I hate about the media is they thrive off of negativity. You will show a man's negativity and his flaws before you show the positivity. I'm just now finding out about him having treating homeless people to hot dogs, or I'm just now seeing videos about how he would get concert circles and prayers and things like that. And I wish I would have knew about that instead of riding along with the negativity that the media try to paint on him.
Absolutely. The media does not feel like they're being rewarded by highlighting beneficence. Especially, and this is historical, especially when it comes to African American figures. Especially young African American figures have been demonized. In their upcoming, we're going to find something wrong with this individual. We're going to report it, and we're going to blast it. And the story is going to be written by that individual who wants to blast the negative. And you have to invest. You have to invest in an individual or in a movement to really understand exactly where that's coming from. What's the groundswell in its actuality? You understand? So it's not surprising at all. If you remember, hip hop was not supposed to become anything more than a fad. Hip hop was not supposed to make it out of the South Bronx. Hip hop was prison music. It was jungle music. It was if you remember correctly, that it wasn't supposed to make it to wax. It was supposed to stay in a ballpark. And that's how
my mother.
Yeah.
I once told my mom that I was going to rap in church once, and she raised hell.
Lost her mind.
Lost her mind. When real students of hip hop, number one, hip hop is not just rap. Rap is a part of hip hop. Hip hop is how you dress, how you talk, how you conduct yourself. That's hip hop. Hip hop is cultural, right?
It's a culture.
Higher intellectual people honing one's potential. That's the acronym I'm going to give hip hop right now. So what was I about to say? So anybody who knows hip hop for real knows that hip hop, when expressed through rapping, is poetic, right? It's poetic. Correct. If you like poetry, then you should like hip hop.
Correct. Absolutely.
A lot of your most favorite rappers are, huh?
Yep. Hip hop is a culture. It was rap when it first became popular. When it was first broadcast. This became something movement. It became a movement after a while. and there was such resistance for the growth of this thing. There was such resistance generationally, racially. There was resistance from it moving forward, but it became so popular, and then it became potentially monetized to the point where it could not be ignored anymore. When you start making money, it becomes more accepted, mainstream. That's what happened. This is not supposed to be the way it is today. It is not. There are so many who would be so happy if it didn't become what it was. It affects people's minds. The individuals, the youth, internalize this, and then it alters their behavior to align with the message of the and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And plus, we don't want to hear what's going on in the ghetto. Remember, the message came out back in the day. We don't want to know what's going on in the ghetto. Keep that where it's supposed to be, in the ghetto. Let them deal with their problems themselves. Oh, you mean to tell me that the African American community has money? Well, you know what? Why don't we consider, and all of a sudden, those corporate minds change. All of a sudden, it infuses itself, it injects itself in the movement for the simple objective of capitalism, period. And now, all of a sudden, your child's coming home, your 14-year-old child's coming home with their pants down by their ankles. What's going on out here? What's going on?
That sounds like stripping. But another great thing that I loved about DMX is he didn't really buy into that capitalism. Yeah. He was, Swiss Beats. I saw a video that Swiss Beats did. He was saying how DMX, he wasn't all about the money and the jewelry and none of that. The stories they told, those were real stories. That was poetry. Again, I put it like this: if you like Shakespeare, you would, if you understood hip hop for what it is, you like Shakespeare, you would like hip hop.
Right.
And hip hop was an escape for DMX to get out of the tumultuous circumstances that he was in when he was raised. But before we get into that, I gotta know this: what's your favorite DMX song?
It's What's My Name? No question about it. If I'm feeling like I need some extra juice, it's What's My Name. Not the video, not the popular version, not the one that you can broadcast, the dirty version, to be honest with you. That's the one I'll blast at 10. If I need some extra juice for the day, I'll go straight to it. Yeah. Come on, boom. I love it. Easily.
You want to know what my favorite is?
Yeah.
Lord, give me a sign.
Okay.
I very much relate to the whole song, to every lyric. I very much relate to it. So yeah, Lord, give me a sign.
Yeah.
One song that I did not understand until an interview of his that I saw today is Get It On The Flow.
Okay, I'm trying to remember that one.
Swiss Beats was like, get it on the flow, get it on the flow.
Oh, yeah. Right. I remember. Yes, yeah. I remember that.
Okay, so when DMX was interviewed about some of his classic songs, he was talking about "Party Up in Here." That's probably like his most popular song.
Yeah, it is.
He was saying how the beat was for the club, but the lyrics weren't, right? And he said. So what?
Yeah, that's I agree.
Okay, so he said that he will make a song where the beat's for the club, but the lyrics aren't. And so I figured that's Get It On The Flow. Because with Get It On The Flow, if you hear Get It On The Flow, that sounds like you want to dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
The beat's jamming, but DMX is on that mode talking about killing someone.
You get it in where you get it in.
So that's the part of the party that I don't want to rock with. I want dance. I want to beat someone up.
Yeah, positivity. But X, like I said before, X is genuine. X is like, if this is what you want me, this is what you get. And I understand, the commercial success of it and what have you, but if you want X, this is what you're getting. And you can appreciate that perspective. Listen, get on, and it gets your feet, and then you're bopping your head, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what did he say? What did he say? Let me figure this out later. Let me get this beat in me, but let me get this. What did he? Yep, that's.
Be like, hey girl, let's get it on the floor. Wait, what? Hold on, what? Oh, I promise I'm not doing nothing to you. Whoa.
But we get the female on the floor. She'll bob to it too. Like, all right, okay, all right, let's keep going.
She the kinky that might turn her on.
Say it again.
I said she the kinky type that might turn her on.
You never know, man. You get them on the floor, and hey, they hear that beat. Listen, rock
might
with
stay
it.
on the floor. So I think that his lyrics leave much to discuss about his mental health. I heard in another interview where he said he's angry all the time. And you hear that through the aggression of his delivery and through some of his songs. You can hear that anger. Like, I heard recently that his mom dropped him off at a shelter when he was like, what, 8, 9 years old?
And told him they were visiting. And told
but
him
just
we were
left
visiting.
him there.
And left him there. They were visiting under the premise that they were visiting there and left him. Yes.
Not only that, but he revealed on Talib Kweli's People's Party podcast, that's one of my favorite podcasts. He revealed that a mentor of his who was in his 30s, probably my age, slipped him a blunt filled with crack, tricked him into smoking crack when he was like 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah, the rumor is that Reddy Ron slipped him a blunt that was laced. Reddy Ron was his mentor at the time. Reddy Ron is his name.
Reddy Ron?
Reddy Ron is the brother that you're talking about that took him under his wing, was his mentor. He appreciated his beatbox skills and made him his partner, brought him into his camp. So Reddy Ron was kind of established, and so that's how that got started.
Dang.
That's how Reddy Ron was like, because remember, X came out beatboxing. Came out beatboxing when he was at the detention centers. He decided other than all the criminal activity, loads of small time, the petty criminal activity, he came out beatboxing. At that time, hip hop was common, especially among that age group in that setting. So X got with a couple of other young brothers that were there, and they appreciated lyrically. He came out beatboxing. Reddy Ron saw him and said, "Come with me," and slipped him a blunt that was laced. And that's like you said, it was around the age of 14. Even his aunt slipped him a drink when he was younger. So I mean, the rumors going around. Apparently, his aunt slipped him a vodka or something when he was even younger than that, before he started to go away. So he came by his demons, honestly.
And so I was talking with two brothers who a few episodes ago, one who is a mental health specialist, about generational curses, right? And how generational curses from our elders can inherently be passed down to us. Like, you have got to be completely messed up in the mind to want to give crack to a 14-year-old boy. You have got to be the worst type of parent to drop your child off at a shelter under the premise that they're just visiting.
No question about it.
We are a very, very generationally cursed people because it's in our elders to do things like that, along with abuse, rape. Oh, yeah, when he was 14. I think when he was 14, a 26-year-old woman raped him.
Add that to that. Add that. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Now, mind you, when I was 14, I was throughout my entire childhood, I was, scoping and looking at older women and stuff, but still. When you are 26, what could you possibly see in a 14-year-old? What could you possibly see in them?
The mental deficiency there are just astounding. Now, let's set a little context here.
What's up?
X's mother was a teenager when she had him. Now, she had a child before him. So she was a young mother. And also, she apparently was in some abusive relationships as well. So her boyfriends were abusive to X inclusively. So when she made the decisions that she made, especially dropping him off, it's not to excuse or discard any of what happened. It's not to excuse it, but just to set the context for where X actually came from and the trauma that he had endured from an early age. And it started, like you said, like we said, 14-year-old getting laced, a rape by a 26-year-old. You have to be a severely damaged individual to think that this is okay, and not to even consider how this is going to affect this young brother long term. You're not even considering that. So, as you said, generationally, these are issues that we have to deal with. And X is a prime example.
Yeah.
How consequential these actions can be on a young brother. When I was 14, 26-year-old, wow, I never have a shot, but to know that it happened to him on top of the other traumatizing issues in his childhood. Come on now. This ending, I'm sorry to say it, is almost predictable. That the rest of his life and the abuse, the substance abuse, is predictable. Living on the street, living in a Salvation Army bins at that age, that mental health issue is something that needs to be confronted, that needs to be admitted to, especially knowing what the outcome could be, man. So that's the context I want.
What was I heard? I think I might have heard a theory about his fascination with dogs. Would you know for sure what was his fascination to stray dogs?
Actually, there's a cousin of mine who was in the dance troupe. He danced with EPMD back in the day. EPMD came out around the same time in the 90s. And so he's got a chance to talk to X and explain to me that X is as genuine as you see. What you see is him. His fascination with dogs, it makes sense because dogs are that genuine. They are who they are, for one. And their loyalty. And when you're loved by something or someone despite your own issues, and that's what I understood, that stray dogs would be linked to him. They would befriend him. And so anybody, and think about it, in that circumstance, if you're befriended by anybody and you've been pushed away by everybody, you're not loved by anybody else, but anyone or anything does love you, that's where his fascination came from. And their aggression, their aggressiveness when it comes to being protective of somebody. That's also coming from a loyalty standpoint. That is their aggressiveness when they're protecting somebody. That's X. That's the personification of who X is. You remember how hurt you've been, but you recognize when someone recognizes you, recognizes real. And you'll protect, and you have one person or one thing that recognizes you and embraces you. He was embraced by stray dogs for no reason. You're dirty, you're smelly. He has a lyric that says, "My pants got up one time when I was in the shelter and it took a shower by itself." That's how dirty I was. And as downtrodden as you are, someone or something embraces you genuinely, that's where the fascination came from. When I'm down, and you know this, ADQ, you know this, You know, you recognize the people who understands you and embrace you and don't criticize you, non-judgmental when you're down, not when you're up, not when you got money in your pocket, not when you got fame.
Mm-hmm.
You remember those who were there. You know, don't come calling on me now. Remember when I was down and out? Remember when you wouldn't pick up the phone? Remember when you criticized me? Family members criticize you because of the choices you made or the behavior you displayed. Don't call me now. Now that I'm doing well. You know, that's a long roundabout way of saying I understand. I understand.
I always tell people, if you can't love me at my lowest, don't love me at my highest.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the sad thing about that is people think short term, and they didn't think long term when they were doing that. They didn't think that this behavior would affect this kid's life for the rest of his life and ultimately lead to his demise.
Sure.
Because yeah, he died from a drug overdose.
He did. He did. His heart gave out as a result of years or decades of substance abuse. And in my past, I've dealt with what they call at-risk population. I've served at-risk population who are suffering similar circumstances, and I've dealt with hundreds of them from an empowerment standpoint. So this is a very relatable story when it comes to how what long-term effects or consequences have. And these young kids, same age when he began, 14, 15, 16, leads to imprisonment, substance abuse, poverty. It's a real issue, and I've dealt with it face forward in confrontation with them in an effort to bring them out. And that's why this story resonates so much with me, because I see X in so many of the youth that I have served over the years, even today, serving individuals who are incarcerated. And their stories are similar to his. And what's the common thread is that A, it's not recognized for what it is. The circumstances are not recognized for what the consequences be. And B, what kind of services are there out there to ameliorate these individuals' mindsets, to heal? They just don't. There's a broad, huge, overreaching conversation about mental health, opioid use. There's a huge it's political now. Once something becomes political, you know, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But there's a huge conversation about that now, as if this hasn't been taking place the entire crack era. But that's another conversation on entirely. But what is the real impact of these services? And I've spoken with many substance abuse professionals about this issue, and they are informing me of how necessary this is. And so you really can't be confused about the outcome, the consequences. They're not addressed properly. They're addressed from a like I said, monetization standpoint, and how much money can we make from this crisis? You know, where there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. It's a saying that way. So what are we really doing? And I'm so glad that you and I made you made the decision to have this discussion, because perhaps it will be prevalent in other wider discussions. This is real. This is real. And X said that he's always angry, and I disagree. I think he's always hurt.
Yeah.
Anger is a result of being hurt, but he's hurt. He was always hurt. And the anger came as a result of that. And you would be too. And the reason why I say that is, if you saw him with his daughter, he wasn't angry, was he? When you saw him on Versus with Snoop Dogg last summer, he wasn't angry, was he? When you saw him in the interview praising or paying homage with Rakim as the greatest lyricist, he wasn't angry, was he? So the brother is genuine at heart, but the demons will always take you to that dark place. So he's very, very sentimental, very emotional, and transparently so. And that makes sense to me because, again, in serving some of the angry incarcerated or youth that I've dealt with, these are the most loyal, give you the shirt off their back brothers. But that's anger? No, that's mischaracterized as anger. They're not angry. They're hurt. And they're looking for something to be them genuine selves toward or about. Does that make sense?
Makes all sense in the world because two people who I'm thinking about right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my uncle, right? He died last year. He was basically years of drugs and alcohol, and put him in a dialysis state. He had to take dialysis, and he just got so sick that he basically had no more life left in him.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I know about my uncle, this is my uncle I'm talking about. I don't even know that much about him. That's why I didn't cry when he died. I mean, I knew him, but I didn't know him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
But I know that he comes from a household that was kind of unstructured in a way. And then I think about a friend of mine, right? He's a Crip. You think Crip, you think gangbanger, your mind already goes to negativity. But I'm not gonna plug the book. I'm gonna start plugging the book in separate advertisements on the episodes of the podcast. But the link is in the title. Get it? Marginalized mind. Anywho, a friend of mine, like I said, he's a Crip. You see Crip, you already think negativity because of what mainstream media has put in your mind. But that brother is one of the most loving, caring, most genuine people I've ever met in my entire life. And Crip stands for Community Revolution in Progress. So, you know what I'm saying? And DMX, yes. He loved Crips. It's them street dudes who mainstream media has taught you to be afraid of. Those are the most genuine, loving, caring dudes that you know of.
Easily.
A lot of them just need to know that they're loved back.
They need to know that they have options. What are options? They were not informed about any other options. If this is how you grow up, you're being acculturated by the gang. And like I said, I deal with these people. I deal with the Crips and the Bloods, and they can sit in the same room and find common ground just because there's empowerment ahead of them. So my personal experience with this population, if you will, is so very different from the media accounts of these things. So I can speak genuinely I can speak informatively about what the mindset is and what the actual circumstances are when you're talking about the media contrasted with the actual story. And that's why, of course, as you just mentioned, taught to be feared. Politically, it's a talking point that there are gangs everywhere and they kill. And I'm in the room with them, ADQ. I'm in the room with them, and we're laughing, and we're supporting each other.
I just want to say
and we're providing positive information.
I just want to say for the record, in 1994, a politician gave a long, lengthy speech of why those people that you are in the room with should all be locked up. That politician is now the president of the United States, whom a lot of people who look like us overwhelmingly supported. Do your history on that snake, Joe Biden. Anywho, I'm sorry. Back to what you were saying.
Yeah, they try to kind of bury that story. That's a whole nother podcast, brother. That's a whole nother conversation. They buried that story for one, and two, If he wasn't running up against that knucklehead, it would have been more. It would have been more profiled. But that's a whole other story. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You can't. It's pervasive. You can't get away from the fact that there's a certain conversation, a certain dialogue regarding us and regarding that population. But I can't. But I've been doing this too long. I've been doing this too long to know the value, the real value. And so when I'm having a discussion of empowerment with them, and we discuss everything like X's demise, and the real street knowledge of what happens or what takes place. A part of that is let's discuss options. What are your options at this time? And you mentioned it because you want the most intelligent, smartest, resourceful, hardworking, capable individuals. I know them personally. But if you don't have, if a slate of options is not presented as an alternative to what they're doing, what do you expect to see happen? What do you expect to see? Why are we confused about why certain youth go down certain paths? For one and two, not every young brother is a Crip or a Blood or a gang member. What do we? And I have this conversation, and I'll make this point. I have this conversation with some people all the time. If we would ask that question, think about it. We would ask the question that goes like this: are there more black men in college or in prison in America? What's the answer? And 9 times out of 10, 19 times out of 20, it's prison, which is statistically wrong. Statistically wrong. Yes. There was a report done in 2007. I think the Pew Research Center did a report in 2007 just on this. And it indicated that there were more African-American men in prison than in college, which is statistically wrong. At that time, they weren't including numbers from those enrolled in historically black colleges. They weren't counting numbers of individuals, black men who were in college in prison. They weren't including numbers of those enrolled in colleges that were not necessarily accredited to a certain level. But when you add up all the numbers, there were way more black men in college than in prison. But that's not going to get out because that's not a political talking point that anybody can benefit from. Why don't we stay with the mainstream dialogue or discourse that says black men need help because there are more black men in prison than in college? Statistically, it is wrong. Do you understand? Do you understand why that particular statistic will be buried?
Yeah, no, because if the power structure that is governed by racism puts out a certain narrative about a certain group of people whom they see as a threat in one way or another, then people who are miseducated will latch on to that fact and they will herald it as pureness.
Right.
That's why there were times when I was sitting in the lobby of a hotel when I lived in Winston-Salem, right? I lived in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There were times when I was sitting in a hotel lobby, just sitting, minding my own business, chilling, thinking about going to go get some coffee. However, I was a chocolate black man, husky size, baggy clothes. Black security officer sees me, tells me to leave. I walk across the street because I just wanted to sign a card on a hard surface. Man follows me there, kicks me out again. Once I got lost while walking into a hotel. I got lost, and black woman, black man kicked me out, and they staring at me like I'm a criminal. So miseducated black people who are the black bourgeoisie or the black elite take knowledge of this of this narrative that's put out by the racist white power structure that says because I am chocolate, because I have this youthful glow, because I have locks, I'm a criminal. And that's fake news.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And it says that because DMX wore baggy clothes, cussed in his music, probably smoked a lot, he's no good. When he was I love to hear him pray and talk about God more than your favorite preacher.
You, sir, as well as X, are the reason why we black people cannot move forward. You, sir, are the reason why we can't realize our educational aspirations and meet our potential. You, sir, are the reason why I have to be defensive about being African American while I am a bourgeoisie black man who's been successful. Were it not for you, sir, I will be accepted by the white establishment. I'm tired of defending you, sir, because of your locks, and you, Walls, because of your bald head. And you think that you're somebody because you have an education. You are making us uncomfortable. DMX is making us uncomfortable. I can't excuse it to my white colleagues.
I think you had to deal with that population before,
brother. Remember, I mean, I don't think I told you this part, but when I graduated high school, I graduated a prep school. I was the only African American male in my class. We were a very small school. I was the only African American male. Very aristocratic school.
Right.
I played tennis at a time when tennis was supposed to be around. Arthur Ashe was just a name, but I played tennis, which is supposed to be a white country club. I ski. And so I've been confronted with the eyes that go, why? If I walk in a room, ADQ, you're the same way. When you walk in a room, decisions are made about you. They're made about you. First of all, you can't possibly, I love this part, you can't possibly be intelligent with the locks and the beard. Unbelievable. This young brother is as intelligent and well-rounded a brother and charismatic, and you all ignoring all of that because I walk in, they want to know what I'm doing there. I have a suit on. They want to know whose job am I there to take, why, as much of a threat as I am. You know that. And I've been pulled over. The common stories. I've been pulled over.
Me too.
And you know, when it's funny because when I got pulled over, I have to go to my Columbia Ivy League voice. Officer, how are you, sir? You know, that's what I have to do. How are you, sir? Fine. I'm on my way to a football practice. I'm somebody, you know, I have to on the spot go bilingual. Yes, sir. I'm one that is trying to better my. And he goes, this is what he asked me. Where'd you go to high school? What difference does that make? What difference does that make? You pulled me over to find out where I went to high school. I went to St. George's Preparatory School in Newport, Rhode Island. Oh, you did? All of a sudden, I get my license back. But what if? What if I committed the same infraction, which was changing lanes? But what if I had a bad day? What if I'm angry for some other reason?
Whenever a cop pull me over, I want to break out my Ice Cube. I want to break out my Ice Cube voice.
Right, and that's my inclination. Officer, Dave, something I wasn't doing nothing wrong, you heard? So, you know, so you want to either charge me, let me know what's going on. All of a sudden, the whole tone of conversation changes. It changes right there. And I didn't do the same infraction. Officer, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why you pulled me over, you heard? But, you know, maybe we could talk about whatever it is. I got someplace I need to be. And all of a sudden, the officer, well, can you step out of the car, sir? We witnessed you and we looked at your tags and we just like to speak to you for a second. What's the difference between that and, hi, officer, how are you? Like David Chappelle would do. Hi, officer, how are you? Yes, I'm fine. I'm having one wonderful day, lovely day. Thank you. What's the difference? You know, so those misconceptions, preconceived conceptions, we're not going to get away from it. We're not going to get away from it, man. It's a reality. It's a reality.
You all are tuning in to ADQ's Renaissance. I'm ADQ. This is my co-host, Allan Walls. We are talking about DMX and the circumstances that he probably had, that I'm pretty sure he had to deal with during his 50 years of life. He unfortunately passed away from us on Friday, and we are commemorating him. And now that we've talked about all that sad stuff, let's talk about some happy stuff. His movies. Now, I saw Belly last night, right? I saw Belly. 2 acting careers, I can tell, were established from that. And that was DMX's and Method Man. Nas, man. Nas is one of my all-time favorites. Love Nas. He's on my top 5. But the brother can't act. He cannot act.
Bless his heart.
He tried so hard.
Bless his heart. I remember Belly, and I remember Nas's performance, and just embrace the brother. You just want to say bless your heart, bro. And I'm with you. Top 5, all time, top 5. It may be top 5, top 10, but his acting career stayed right there. being an actor myself, it stayed right there. DMX and Meth. They have the character. I'll give it to them.
As we're actors. I would say that while DMX was probably, for one thing, I think DMX and Nas were basically playing themselves.
Right.
But I think that with DMX's roles, he was able to show different dimensions of himself in different circumstances. Does that make sense?
Right. I agree.
So yeah,
being a father, especially because my favorite DMX movie was Cradle to the Grave. Without Jet Li. One, the premise. I'm a father of a daughter, and so when he was protecting his daughter and that relationship there, I identify with very, very closely. That's one. Destin Jet Li was also coming out, becoming more of a prominent star, and I like the storyline in terms of getting his daughter was kidnapped, getting his daughter back. Gabrielle Union was in it; she was strong in it. So I thought the entire production. I mean, they had real actors in this one. The Hype Williams one, the Belly one, became a cult classic, but it failed early. I don't know if you remember. It failed in the box office early. It was panned early, but like it became a cult classic.
Mm-hmm. It's a cultural classic.
Yeah, it's a. So I mean, Cradle to the Grave was for me. I just like the artistry. I liked it. I liked the videography. I liked it. Anthony Anderson was in it. So
Jet Li and Anthony Anderson and DMX all acted together in Cradle to the Grave and Romeo Must Die.
Yeah, and Romeo Must Die. So
what do you think of DMX and Romeo Must Die?
I thought he was good. And I think about it, he had a broader upbringing. A more diverse upbringing than perhaps Nas did, so he's able to bring those experiences to the roles. I think that's why he's more well-rounded in that genre than maybe the other actors were. But I know Hype Williams was doing back when he did Belly. I understand what he was doing. Give those names, give those brothers a shot. Put a storyline around it, make the opening, and it will attract the African American youth audience or the audience for that. I get it. I get it. But when Cradle to the Grave, he had actual actors there. So that diluted anything else. So I'm good with
that. Before we went on, you were saying that the opening of Belly kind of like made you uncomfortable a little bit, right?
Only because I wanted to see it again. I hadn't seen it for years. And I wanted to see it like yesterday. And the newest news about the recent news about X and seeing him and first of all hearing his opening poetry, and then seeing him, so it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't discomfort. It was kind of reminiscent. I'm like, can't believe he's not here. Yeah.
I think also that DMX, kind of like flourished more towards an acting career than Nas did, because Nas is like very introverted.
He is.
I think that DMX is a little bit more was a lot more extroverted than Nas it was.
I agree. You even
Cause
heard you hear in like Nas interviews, you hear it. He's always that guy that you hear on Ether. He's just that guy.
Yeah.
He stays in that lane.
Yeah, Nas is a Virgo like I am. Virgo power.
Yeah, I always want to ask you, man, when you say Virgo power, because I'm not like astrologically sound that way. What does that mean? What is that?
This is what I mean when I say Virgo power. So that's me celebrating the fact that I share the same astrological sign as Nas, Beyonce, Bernie Sanders, and some others who I can't think right off top. A girl I used to date, whom I dated for a very, 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 very short period of time. Which I wouldn't advise fellow Virgos to date other Virgos. It won't work. It won't work. So, and also the fact that sometimes when I see the description of a Virgo, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I'm like, dang, that's me to a T. And also, I look at other Virgos like Nas, like Beyonce, like Ludacris, and look and see. Okay, if are there any common traits in our behaviors? Okay, I'm pretty sure that Nas is the type of person who loves hard, right? I'm the type of person that loves hard. Like when I am talking to a woman, I have to restrain myself because I love hard. Like Nas is introverted, I'm extroverted, but I have my introverted days.
Sure.
Beyonce is super, super, super artistic. I'm super, super, super artistic. Like I love Black is King. Okay. Bernie Sanders comes off like someone who bucks the system. I buck the system.
Yeah. Respect.
So yeah.
Because my mother's a Leo Virgo. She's on the cusp. So she's had Virgo as well. So I just want to get some insight from another Virgo what that looks like. And that makes sense. Uber artistic. Uber artistic. Uber creative. No question about it. Introverted. Yep. You're right. I got it.
Well, my mom is a Leo. And this girl that I'm trying to get with right now is a Leo. So let's see how that goes.
Work hard, brother. Work hard. Do your thing. But yeah, I going back to X and Nas, yeah.
So let's see. I know he did other movies other than Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave, Romeo Must Die, and Belly. What else did he do?
It's something else. I'm trying to remember now.
Never Die Alone. He did Never Die Alone.
Oh, right, he did. Right. He did Never Die Alone.
That's that true. Was with Michael Ealy and David Arquette.
Started to come out. Right. He did. But at that time, they weren't trying to include they were trying to capitalize on the fame and the popularity of rap stars at that time. So right. that's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why they were more featured in movies. Just about that time is when you saw musical artists become a part of major motion picture films. So they tried to get as much as they could out of him, But he's an artiste. He's an artiste, and that's the way. Who else went that way? Cube went that way. Snoop Dogg went that way of the feature film. Capitalizing, and where it's coming from. Let's capitalize on this African American culture and movement. The big film producers or the studios. Let's capitalize on this popularity. Turns out
not based off of their skills, but based off the fact that they have a name. Value.
At that time, yeah. At that time, yes. And you know, you can appreciate that. I mean, you can appreciate that, but you know where they're going with that. As a matter of fact, that kind of angered some actual actors who were not artists, because they felt that these up and coming rap stars were taking acting roles that should have been given to actual actors.
Okay, so have you seen the movie Get on the Bus?
What is it?
Get on the Bus?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I forget the character's name, but one character in the movie was an actor, right? And he got a call from his agent saying that a role that he was going for went to Ice Cube. I feel like that's kind of like an actual feeling that some actors get.
It is. Get on the Bus, the Spike Lee one with Charles Dutton and Andre Brower.
Yeah.
Strongest. Wow. Strong cast. But yes, that's exactly right. And they have a feel of entitlement when you're an actor like that, when you're Andre Brown, Charles Dutton. There's a certain entitlement among some of them that say, why is Cube here? And you have to accept that this is the direction that things are going. That this swath of African American culture needs to be included, or should be included, or is going to be included. They're going to cross lines from the musical to the cinema.
I mean, for goodness sake, have you seen Ice Cube in Boys in the Hood?
I'm proud of him. I'm proud. And you know what's funny, man? I'll bring this up really quick.
What's up?
When gangster raps first started, and that movement of real street rap, Biggie and that they like criticized so badly, like when Hammer came out, when MC Hammer came out with the Hammer pants and the Hammer shoes, cartoon and everything, they lit him up. They lit him up for crossing outside of rap to become something different. And you know, they made fun of him, you know. But then all of a sudden, years later, we got Ice Cube doing "Are We There Yet?" a family movie. You know, and I just find that to be very, very interesting. That all of a sudden now in the gangs, that Kid and Play at the time, they were scared that Biggie was going to say something about them and tank their career. But all of a sudden, we have guys appearing in movies and things like that. So that's where the movie.
All of a sudden, you have Ice-T, who made a whole song called "Cop Killer," playing a cop.
So what? No, he's not. Well said. Yes. All of a sudden, just for you. What? So you know, it's an interesting take on where the movement can go and what can happen. All of a sudden, you got Snoop Dogg and with Denzel doing Training Day with Dre, huh? And it's the same group that said the media and all of that. Okay, you just embrace the brothers, man. Embrace them.
See, I would say me. Speaking as a trained actor, I mean, of course, I got more training to do, but you know, I've received training. I've also dropped some hip hop mixtapes, so you know, I got a leg, I got a whole leg, a leg and a knee in one world, and some toes in the other, in another world, right? Doesn't really bother me. I mean, if you are fit for the role, you are fit for the role. I can't picture nobody else playing Doughboy.
Right. No question about it. He owned those roles.
And X, he had the type of character. Okay, so how about this? I'll put it this way. When you look at most of your well-known actors, a lot of them are really just playing themselves, unless they are a character actor. Someone along the lines of Daniel Day-Lewis, or so what's another methodical character actor out there?
Joe Pesci has range.
Huh?
Joe Pesci has range. He has range. He can cross over.
Who else? Okay, what's a black one? You think Denzel falls in that category?
Denzel is an interesting case because to me, Denzel is so polished as an actor that whatever role is given him, it becomes distinct from all the other roles. So when he did Training Day, because it was a time when Denzel did try a comedic role. It was so, I don't remember the name of the movie, but he was in a movie with Bob Hoskins, the English actor, way back in the day. And he played his persona in the movie. The plot was his persona was in Bob Hoskins' body. He died, and it was a comedic role, and it didn't work. But he's an actor who I think can just own a role. Like you can't see anybody else playing Troy. You can't see anyone playing Alonzo. You can't see anyone else playing really Malcolm X the way Spike Lee had portrayed it. You know, so I think he's diverse that way. He's so polished. He's so good. He's so talented. You know, it's interesting because what about actors that play one note, which is kind of what you're saying. One note.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's exactly what you're saying. Is no matter what, it's them playing a role, not the role, not the character itself. It's always them playing a role. Sidney Poitier had that back in the day. Whatever role Sidney played, it was one note. The aggressive, black, intelligent man. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely hear what you're saying. What actor plays can just play one note, but is assigned a character's name. You know, can you be diverse? Can you change paces? Can you change speed? And like you said, when you're trained as an actor, you're trained as part of it. When I was trained as an actor, your rhythm, your pacing, all of that needs to be considered when you are bringing a specific role to life, a specific character to life, on stage or on screen. You know what I mean? So the training has everything.
You think X might have took some acting classes?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. He had control. He had control over his mannerisms and his presentation. He had kind of control.
Because one thing, yo, check this out. So he was featured in Romeo Must Die. He was a cameo, a comedic cameo, kind of like, you know, making a parody of himself in Top 5, the Chris Rock joint, Top 5.
Yeah.
But he was the leading headline role in Belly, Exit Wounds, and Romeo Must Die, and Never Die Alone.
He had discipline. I'm not sure where it came from. He had acting discipline. So when he was given a role, I would love to know what his preparation process was, because when he was given a role, he understood the role in with regard to the entire plot, and he understood the character with regard to how it related to the entire plot. He had a discipline that I'm not sure where he got that from. I'm not sure. I mean, like, I know Tupac took acting classes. You know, it's not well known, but there's a discipline that came with him. So when you say, did he take acting classes? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. He made those roles distinct. Well, I mean, okay. Did someone just say he's that talented, or what? You know, but it definitely needs to be recognized and revered for sure. Most
definitely. So, yeah, he was just a very talented man. You know, everything he touched turned to gold. I mean, he did not put out a bad album. Almost all of his studio albums that were released during his life, almost all of them. I don't think that Grand Champ did that well, or I don't think that Grand Champ or Year of the Dog Again did that well. I think they both went gold, but first 3 platinum.
News has it that he's the only rapper whose first 5 albums debuted at #1.
Yeah.
First 5 albums. Never happened before.
You know, there's also a song that, you know, he's like, ooh, this song is very much needed for this time frame, this day and age, 2021.
Yeah.
It's actually a song that he did with Funkmaster Flex. Off of Funkmaster Flex's 60 Minutes of Funk. I forget which volume, but it's a song with Funkmaster Flex. It's called Do You. He's basically telling people, don't do me, do you. I wonder if that was a shot at Ja Rule, because I know that X and Ja Rule were beefing for a while.
They were. Ja Rule beef with everybody.
Don't nobody like Ja Rule. I'm
Ja,
sorry,
Ja,
if you're out there listening and you're a Ja Rule fan, listen, check me out. I'm not the biggest 50 Cent fan. I'm not.
neither am I.
But I admire how he was right here when it came to rapping.
Yeah.
But then he dropped How to Rob. He dissed everybody. Signed with Eminem and went way up here. And then, you know, after 2007, after he dropped Curtis, you know, his star as far as rapping was starting to fade. Did that stop him? No, he kept making music and he started making investments. He was already, you know, sort of on the radar when it came to acting, but then he started executive producing. Then boom, you got Power. Love the man's business moves. Love it. Hate his rapping. Don't like his rapping at all. Only like 150 Cent song. I Get Money. Other than that, but love his business moves. The 50th Law that he wrote with Robert Greene. Love the book. Love the book.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm getting at. So after hearing all of these freaking mushy gushy Ja Rule and Ashanti songs, after turning on MTV and BET every summer, I love Ashanti, yeah, my Ashanti. After hearing all of that, hearing 50 Cent, he was mumbling while he was, yeah, Ja Rule, wet, yeah, you lit, yeah, I like Ja Rule. Hearing how 50 Cent, Eminem, even Dr. Dre and Busta Rhymes got in on the party, collectively destroyed Ja Rule. I was like, thank you so much. Thank you. He only put out one more mushy gushy Ashanti, a song with Ashanti since then, and that was a remake of the song Helpless from Hamilton, because Lin-Manuel Miranda utilized the Ja Rule and Ashanti muse when writing that song. The song's great by itself with the lady, what's her name? Renee Goldsberry? What's her name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, her. Her and Lin-Manuel Miranda. I don't even know that go Ashanti. Man, I loved hearing all that junk that 50 Cent was talking about Ja Rule. And daggone, if DMX had some junk to say about him, I would love to hear that too. Cause stand Ja Rule, man. The only reason why I like his song New York, You want to know why? Because of my man Jadakiss. Love Jadakiss. Jadakiss is my guy.
Jada's mean.
Jadakiss
lyrically is mean.
What?
Jada's respected by the old hip hop dudes. Jada's name will be brought up by the old hip hop old heads, and that's rare. That's rare that an old head will look at anyone from this generation and the newest and applaud them. But Jada's the name that'll be brought up. Jada's mean. Jada's tough. But Ja, I feel bad for him. I'm gonna go to bat for you, Ja. Poor Ja. I heard understand. There's a documentary. He made an investment to what they call fire. The fire line. They had a whole thing. And
he put his name all over that.
I mean, you're talking about a classically disastrous investment. Oh my goodness! And he was all over that. I wanted to hug him. I'm like, you can't see it coming. I'm like, John, you can't see disaster coming, and you promoting. So I mean, knowing that about him, I just want to embrace the brother. I feel so bad for him.
How is not really show his face in public anymore?
Yeah, 50 destroyed him. 50 destroyed him.
Yes,
it was like you want to sit there like, he's just taking blows. Oh my goodness!
And then he got Eminem after him.
Yeah, and he got M. What's wrong with you? You go after Eminem? What is wrong with you? Okay. Eminem is a rap institution. Okay.
You mess with Eminem, you mess with fire.
Yeah, you just want suicide now. M will take you down. You don't do. I mean, you don't step in certain waters. M is one of them. You're gonna get destroyed. You're gonna get like he took out Benzino. You're gonna get destroyed. You know, so
wasn't nobody really messing with Benzino, you know, as a rapper. You know, Benzino had announced that he co-owns the Source just to get some credibility.
Yeah, some credibility. Yeah, you know, he was just trying to mess with people, but and he sold his stock in Source or something like that. But you don't mess with him. I love you, Josh. Go get him. Stay up, Josh. Stay up. Oh my goodness.
Hey, you know. I think that the reason for the disagreement, we'll call it a disagreement between Ja Rule and X, was because I think that X might have felt like Ja was trying to sound like him, because both of them had that
voice.
very deep, the
gruff.
But I think that X used it better. You know what I'm saying? Ja Rule was singing all the time. I love me and Shanti.
It don't match him. It don't. Ja's flow like that gruff flow. You don't run up against X's gruff. X's gruff is real. X's gruff is him. It's not just a voice. It's his persona. His whole persona is that. You know what I'm saying? He earned that. He came by that honestly. I don't feel like when Ja does his thing that he comes by honestly. You know what I'm saying? And you sing with Ashanti and whatever. It's just give it up, give it up. I'm like, okay, give it up, just give it up.
All right, man, I like that. I like that "Living It Up" joint. I like that song.
Yeah, but I'm saying the voice itself, the gruff voice, somehow, it was popular. It was kicking. But I'm like the voice itself. X is you looking at him like, yeah, that's him to the core. That's how.
Yeah, because X had asthma. That's the reason why his voice was so rough.
He was bronchial, yeah. But it still matched him.
Man. So he had bronchitis.
Yeah, he was bronchial.
Man, X was a soldier, man. He was a soldier.
Lost a soldier.
I think like the last major joint they dropped was from the Godfather of Harlem soundtrack. It seemed like he was making a comeback. He had re-signed with Def Jam. He did that joint. Rick Ross was on the first verse, and X, he was yelling a lot, but he made it rock. He made it rock.
Right.
And word is he completed a documentary and a brand new album.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. So X left us with a couple things.
Now he looked, like I said, when he did verses last year with Snoop, he looked okay. I mean, I was proud of him having, looks like he got himself together and he was on his way to making a comeback, as you mentioned. But the thing about addiction, especially chronic addictions, is that it can happen at any moment. You can relapse badly. You can have an episode at any moment, a fatal one. No matter how far you may have come back or how much you have recovered or been in recovery, that demon is always right on your shoulder. It can happen in a split second. And all of a sudden, the consequences of what happened. So no matter how you look on Tuesday, Wednesday's another day for you to continue to regard or fear your demons, to be very, very aware of your demons, because Wednesday could be the day that you relapse and don't come back. How many soldiers have we lost to that? Where you think they think you're on the road to recovery and they're looking good, and all of a sudden, bam! Because you don't know what that substance actually does internally to the organs and to the heart and things like that. Where you don't even know it. You're this far away from an episode that ends in demise. I mean, serious.
And it's like I'm a Christian, and there's a popular belief in the Christian faith that if you pray and pray and pray and believe that you are free from something, you are. And that could be the case, but you got to put the work in. And, you know, DMX, he has demons. He has demons that he had to wrestle with. And sometimes when you wrestling and stuff, yo, the brother looked tired. He looked tired. And sometimes you just wrestling and demons pin you down, and yo, you're like, man, let me go ahead. Just one sniff ain't gonna hurt. But the versus joint, I would say big ups to Snoop Dogg, because what that was Snoop Dogg giving X his flowers.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely, I thought about it that way. And even Snoop said this is what versus should be about. It should be about brotherhood. I agree. He was lifting them up.
Because okay, so their heydays were back when I was in high school. You know, those were the good old days. Their heydays was when I was in high school, and you never even heard them refer to each other at any time. You wouldn't even guess they were friends.
Right.
But both of them regard themselves as dogs. You know, Snoop Dogg, DMX, the dog.
Yep.
And there's one part. There's one part that I really love. That I really love. Right. And that's when, you know, Snoop Dogg did the B's Ain't S joint featuring Nate Dogg, R.I.P. Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
And Snoop said, R.I.P. Nate Dogg. DMX so incredibly said, let me echo that, R.I.P. Nate Dogg, rest in peace Nate Dogg, and rest in peace Aaliyah. And drop that, come back in one piece joint.
In one piece, He dropped Nate Dogg's joint. He dropped Nate Dogg's joint. It just lets you know just how connected they are. We didn't know. I didn't know. Just like you, I didn't know they were connected like that, or that they regarded each other in a certain manner. I didn't even know that. When I saw it, like, oh, okay, there's some history here that we're not aware of. You know, so I definitely respected that.
What I also respect is the growth, because yo, Snoop Dogg, you remember the 93, the 94 Source Awards when he was talking all that junk about East Coast. You know, Snoop Dogg was, you know, he was passing out. But X is East Coast, Yonkers, New York to the core, and Snoop had him up in his house showing love. It's called growth. We all grow. When I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. That's in one of them Corinthians somewhere.
Yep. And that should have been more broadcast. That should have been highlighted more in terms of, but like I said, East Coast West Coast, everybody knows this. East Coast West Coast does that feud, sells magazines. But that brotherhood on the ground, was not talked about much. But it existed. And I'm just so glad to know now that it did exist, that it was a reality, that these brothers did go beyond what was public, that there's a backstory. I'm proud of them, man.
I'm proud of seeing the image of Snoop Dogg crip walking to get it on the floor.
Yeah, that was a special moment. That was a nice moment. I think the best adjective I can come up with was it was a heartfelt moment, man. And to see that and to know today that he's not with us, you know, like I said, it's been said a million times. Let's give people their roses and their flowers when they're here. Let's give them the recognition when they're here, because now people are becoming more familiar with X's backstory when they wouldn't have had he not passed. You know, legends grow when people pass. Legends grow.
Oh, his upcoming album about to break the internet. But as we start to wrap this up, I would say that DMX's legacy has affected me in this way. Hey, that rhymes. Legacy affected me. But anyway, I would say his legacy affected me in this way. Number one, long before, I mean, as I would teach, as I would, talk to my students, I would entertain them with X ad libs. Like they would say to me, they would say something to me, and I'd be like, "What?" And it would be something. I say, "Come on." And then when they went back, I'd be like, "Urgh."
I hear you. I hear you. I can see the looks on their faces, man.
They would say, "Mr. Q, why are you so crazy?" And the second way is me being a follower of the Lord like I am. I should not be saying that. I like to show that I am instead of saying it. But anyway, all of us who are real with ourselves, we have struggles. DMX, Earl Simmons had his struggles, and he was very transparent about them. But that didn't stop him from opening up his Bible and praying for people. And I love that. So one thing that I got from him is write that pain and turn that pain into love. Because that's what he did. How did his legacy affect you?
One thing that you mentioned a short while back was, as a Christian, you hold certain values, and you're free of, at some point you recognize that you're free of demons, let's say, or free of anger, or free of darkness. But then you mentioned that you still have to be aware of it. And one of the phrases that I've always used when trying to keep people vigilant about themselves in the situation is, faith without work is dead. It's not enough to just have faith, but you have to apply the work in order to maintain that faith. X's legacy for me was one that's contrary to what you understood in the media about the roughness and the aggressiveness and the anger, because you saw him with his daughter. And you saw the softness there. You saw his embrace of fatherhood. You saw him on one of these reality shows in tears, pretty much asking for help and explaining, trying to explain through his crying that I'm in pain. I'm in pain. And that next needs to be recognized. His legacy for me is one of survival. Given his backstory, one of survival and one of impact, because we are talking about him today, and we'll continue to talk about him. And his lyrics and his music and his movies will live on from a certain perspective, knowing more about them. Invest in your heroes. Invest in your, you know what I'm saying? Invest, when I say invest, I mean invest your time, your care in your community, in knowing about what's going on with your heroes, with the people. Do you respect them to that degree? And he deserves to be recognized for a legacy of impact, not just for his generation, but for generations that came behind him. Impact on his children. So I applaud the brother. I'm sad that he's gone, but we shine a light on his greatness. I'll leave it there.
I knew this would happen.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. It's just give them the flowers while they're here, everyone. Give people the flowers while they're here. And the ADQ will be back in a second. But it's just not just words. And I truly understand how impacting and consequential substance abuse can be on a family, on an individual, on someone's potential. Don't ignore it, because then you're going to funerals, because then you're criticizing people, because then you're excluding individuals from your circle who need to be embraced, who need to be hugged, who need to be understood, who don't need to be tisked, who don't need to be a talking point for some politician. They need to be embraced. Let's not forget that when you're getting that finger pointed, when you're pointing your finger at somebody, it's for pointing back at you. Do some self-reflection. Do some self-intuition. Do some self-analysis. Legacy of DMX for me is one that speaks to that story, that speaks to the ability to be able to survive, to endure. And you can't tell me that those in the audience right now cannot identify with that story, either for yourself or for someone that you know. When that phone rings sometimes, just someone, and I have some people who I'm mentoring now. And all they needed was for me to pick up the phone, and they felt better about themselves. People feel way more alone than you think they do. And sometimes a text or a phone call or something like that makes the difference in people's everyday lives. Remember, Tuesday's not like Wednesday. This is Sunday. Monday's going to be different. It's another day to empower. Call somebody. That loneliness is powerful. It can happen in a second. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. An episode can happen in a second, and all of a sudden, oh, he was here. When he was here, we were. Where is that concern when they're here? Believe me, I know. If I have an opportunity, I'll speak with ADQ, and we can talk about what my internal experience has been with this kind of thing. And that's why I speak from that perspective. From the perspective of, I can almost imagine what he was doing, what X was doing right before the ambulance came. I can almost tell you what was going on that night and how he indulged. I can tell you what his thoughts were. Trust me, I can. ADQ was back.
You know that life like that, man.
What's that?
You know that that life like that, like you could probably understand what he was doing prior to his overdose.
I can tell you. I mean, that's a great story for another time, but I can tell you. I can see what he was. I can see him. I can see what he was thinking.
Well, I tell you what. What we will do is, we will mourn his passing, but we'll praise his ascension to the ancestors. We will praise the fact that he's not in pain anymore, and we will praise the fact that we will praise and be grateful for the fact that he gave us 50 years. He gave us half of a century.
We will celebrate his
So what?
Right. We will celebrate his impact. I say that's what we do. We celebrate his impact. We can mourn his loss.
Biggie and Tupac didn't see 50. They didn't see 30.
Right. You can look in the past, but don't stare too long. We celebrate his history. We celebrate his memory, his impact. For sure.
So, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of ADQ's Renaissance. What we doing next episode, I don't know at the moment, but I would make sure to keep you all updated. Allan, what's your favorite play?
Favorite play? It all depends. The one that I've seen and performed, or my favorite play altogether. Honestly, both. My favorite performance. Robert Guillaume did Guys and Dolls on Broadway one time. Absolutely fantastic. Pearl Bailey did Hello Dolly. We know it as a Carol Channing, Barbra Streisand thing. Pearl Bailey did Hello Dolly. And I saw her on Broadway. And that performance was fantastic because if you know Hello Dolly, there's a certain opening. She didn't like the opening. This is on Broadway. She didn't like the opening, and she told the audience, we're going to start again. My favorite play entirely, I got to tell you, Soldier's Play, probably. August Wilson. It became Soldier's Story in the movie, but Soldier's Play, August Wilson.
Ho. You didn't tell me that a Soul Story that had Robert Townsend, Adolph Caesar, and Denzel Washington was a Soldier's Play written by August Wilson?
Yeah, Soldier's Play was August Wilson.
Wow.
Unless I'm very, very mistaken. Yeah.
So I think another topic for us to talk about will be the collaboration between Denzel Washington and August Wilson, because Denzel Washington knows how to maneuver August Wilson's words.
It's a perfect match. It's a perfect match. Writer and actor, perfect match. Absolutely.
It is. But till next time, I'm ADQ. He's AW. Celebrate your loved ones, blood and non-blood. We'll holler at y'all next time. This is ADQ's Renaissance 100. Who thought that I would reach 100 episodes? I bet y'all didn't think I would reach 100 episodes. 100.
Yes,
Patrick,
sir.
how you gonna meet me on the tail end, man? Shout out to Patrick Ferrara, great acting teacher over in Wilmington. He taught me some moves and grooves while he was here in Greensboro. So shout out to Patrick. But hey, Patrick, catch us on the rewind. Again, I'm ADQ. He's AW. Yes,
sir.
I'm from Shelltown. He's from BK. You all have a blessed day. Peace.
Peace. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.